Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Band, a podcast that features conversations with composers, conductors, and performers of music for winds and percussion. My name is Mark Connor. I'm a composer and educator, and each week I have the good fortune to speak with and share the stories and wisdom of musicians and leaders in the band community. Are you planning to travel with your group sometime soon? If so, please consider my sponsor, Kaleidoscope Adventures, a full-service tour company specializing in student group travel. With a former educator as its CEO, Kaleidoscope Adventures is dedicated to changing student lives through travel, and they offer high-quality service and an attention to detail that comes from more than 25 years of student travel experience. Trust Kaleidoscope's outstanding staff to focus on your group's one-of-a-kind adventure so that you can focus on everything else. The Everything Band podcast is a proud member of the Music Teachers Development Podcast Network. The Muted Network provides support in the form of audio-on-demand programming designed by and for music educators. You can find more information about our network at mutedpodcasts.com. Before we begin, I'd like to thank all of you for listening. I appreciate your time and hope that you are finding value from these interviews. I rely on word of mouth and social media to bring the show to new listeners. If you think you knew one or two people who might find these interviews useful, please let them know about it. You can also help by following me and sharing posts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Remember, help your students live up to the best that is in them through music. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Everything Band podcast. To kick off year 4 of the podcast, and that's so hard to believe that I'm on year 4, thank you all so much for your support. It means the world to me. I have a special episode. I was recently flown out to Atlantic City to attend the New Jersey Music Educators Association. I was flown out by my sponsor, Kaleidoscope Adventures. They wanted me to come to their booth and talk to music educators in New Jersey and to record a special episode. And so I took them up on the offer. I thought that was a great idea. And I want to tell you that they're terrific people. So if you do have any travel needs and you need someone to partner with, give Kaleidoscope a shot. They're really great. But anyway, so I went to New Jersey, I was in Atlantic City, and I talked to 7 music educators, and the theme of the conversation was community. And my question was, what does community mean to you? Now, for me, as a band director and as a musician, community is everything. When I was a kid, I've said this on the podcast before, but when I was in high school, like many other young people, I didn't feel like I quite fit in well. And I spent the majority of my lunch times in my 9th and 10th grade years in the band room with my band director and my friends. And that was my place of refuge. It was my safe place. Band was the reason I went to school every day. That's what I wanted to do the most. And when I get into college, those were all my friends were musicians and music majors. And even today, the chance to go talk with you guys every week and to spread community and to be part of something greater than myself, well, this is what it's all about. And I try to give that to my students in every way. And so I wanted to talk to these music educators in New Jersey and see what they had to say about it. All right, so my first guest today at NJMEA is Phil Aguglia from PaGu Batons. He's a teacher in the Buffalo, New York area. Phil, can you tell us about how band builds community in your program or how in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. As a high school band director, I got to tell you that through my band council, which is usually between 25 and 35 members, it gives kids an opportunity to learn how to become leaders, become servants, and that small group of community that they build friendships within, and teamwork, team building exercises that we do together, helps them invest not only in themselves, in the school, in the program, in the community, because we do a lot more with outside the walls of the building as well. In a music program, if you do it right and you use section leaders and leadership groups to be able to work and build teams within your own organization. I'll give you an example. We start a lot of high school beginners in my program. When a kid comes in my program and is learning an instrument for the first time, they're in a practice room during rehearsal. Every kid takes an opportunity to go and play with that kid for a period during rehearsal. So they all become invested in that person and their success within our program. And that in turn helps that person develop a relationship and a rapport with everybody. Not always are they become best friends, but it helps you understand your role within a larger context. Travel. Let's talk about how travel builds community, because I do surveys with kids all the time about, what are your pros and cons of the program? What do you like? What do you dislike? What are your memories? No matter what happens, travel is always the number one thing that comes up as the best part of their experience. Why? Because they built a community within the program by being on the bus for all those hours, for experiencing the whatever revelations you expose them to on these trips. They stay with them for a lifetime. So yes, anybody can go to school. I always tell my students, don't be a ghost that sails through the hallways. Leave a footprint bigger than your own. And how do you do that? Be a part of something greater than yourself and learn how to contribute beyond what you may have thought is your minimum requirement to be a part of the school program. That's why we get featured in a lot of magazines nationwide, because we do a lot of those types of things.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that idea of leaving that footprint. That's a wonderful way to put it. So, Phil, you also are, I hope I get the pronunciation right, PaGu batons?
Yes.
That's you. So, just really quickly tell listeners what that's about.
PaGu Batons is a worldwide brand now. I started in my basement, and I make custom batons for conductors with the goal of being able to build a baton for a client that's ergonomically correct for their hand and arm body size, so that they get the balance point where they want it. We have identified 5 balance points that we offer, where you can have the weight heavily in the handle or way out in the tip. And we encourage the conductor to think differently about how they use a baton, what the function of that instrument is in their hands, and to invest in that instrument by having it custom built for them, so that we can help relieve some of the tension that you can have when you're using an instrument that's inappropriate for you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Phil, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
All right, so I'm back at NJMEA, and I'm with Larissa, and she is a Ph.D. student at Rutgers University and specializing in urban education, and she's joining the show to talk about community today. So, Larissa, can you share your thoughts? What does community mean to you as a musician?
Sure. I believe that community is an important aspect of any music program, because we naturally create an environment where students feel involved, connected with each other, working toward a common goal. I feel like the community that we develop is also with the parents as well. We perform not only in our school, but also in the surrounding nursing homes. We generate just an environment where kids feel successful, adults get to see their kids be successful and involved in something that they love to do.
So can you tell the listeners, I didn't get your last name, Larissa Skinner. And so can you tell the listeners just a little bit about what you're doing with urban education as far as your research?
Sure. I've been a teacher in the Passaic Public School System for 8 years now. And it's a school district that is impacted by poverty, by immigration. We have 100% of our students on free and reduced lunch. Very different environment from what many people experience. And this led me to pursue not a music degree in my PhD work, but an urban education degree. So I get to learn a lot about how the urban environment impacts my students in my music program. So it's been a really interesting journey, and I've learned quite a lot that I've been able to bring into the classroom.
Wow, that's great. Larissa, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, back at NJMEA, and I have David Taylor. David, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is David Taylor, and I am a music teacher at Northern Burlington Regional High School. This is my 28th year teaching in the state of New Jersey. I've had 4 different jobs, mainly about 10 years as a band director, long time ago at Eastern Regional High School, and also for the last 17 years as a choral director. So that's pretty much what I've been doing.
So did you do choir and band as a young musician?
Yes, actually I went to Westchester University, graduated in 1990 for with my bachelor's, and I was a double major in vocal and instrumental.
Cool.
With a little bit of percussion on the side, doing the Garfield Cadets a long time ago.
So you had options.
I had a lot of options, and it helped my resume. It really helped me expand my horizons and give me the opportunities that I now have.
Oh, that's awesome. So can you talk about community, what that means?
Yeah, community, especially in the sense of, as a music teacher, what community is in my perspective. It's pretty much everything that I do each and every day. I think of my own life, the way that I even met my wife. She was part of my world as a college grad and as a college student. A part of my community in the college was getting to know one another there. That, what I didn't know at the time, that community that I was learning and all the people that I met, are now some of my fellow colleagues in other states now, and that I meet at conventions. I just ran into one of my fellow community members from Westchester in the elevator about 10 minutes ago coming from the Sheraton. So community has been a part of my life, not only as a child and going through high school, but as an everyday part of what I do. As an adult and as a teacher now, being a part of the music community is everything that we do. Every little seed that we plant as a teacher comes back to us tenfold. What that little seed that you may teach a student 15, 20 years ago, and then you see that student. I just saw that gentleman right over there with hard landing hair. His name is Chuck. He's one of my former students who graduated 9 years ago. He's now part of this music community, and what a wonderful gentleman he is. And we were just talking about my own son, who's now going to be looking into going to music. So that seed of the community around us is all part of what we do, and it's everything that it is as a teacher and as a musician.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you, David.
Thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you, Mark.
Remember your first term of teaching? Learning all the skills that you don't get taught in music school? Managing a transitioning culture in your classroom? Finding out that you have to teach guitar this term? During those early years, we found out that leaning on a community of music educators was important, not only for building that knowledge in ourselves, but also maintaining enough sanity to serve the students right in front of us. Amused is a podcast centered around a community of music teachers. Between the four of us, we teach choir, band, orchestra, general, jazz, and marching band at the elementary through collegiate levels. We certainly don't have all the answers, but you're welcome to listen in while we try to find them. Join us while we work through the challenges of music teaching and celebrate the joy of bringing music making into the lives of young people. In each episode, you'll hear stories, both good and bad, about that week of teaching, and we'll try and tackle an issue that one of us is struggling with. Something we're all taught is that music brings people together, but being the only teacher in your subject at a site can be really isolating. We think everyone ought to be a part of a community, and you're welcome to come join ours. Episodes come out on Wednesdays during the school year, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts and at amusedcastorg.
I'm back at NJMEA with Yael Schneider. Yael, will you introduce yourself for my listeners, and then we're going to talk about community.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Yael Snyder. I am the district percussion specialist, 4 through 12, and a band director in the Monroe Township School District. Very excited to be here at NJMEA. Our middle school percussion ensemble is performing this afternoon at 2:30, so we're getting ready for that. I'm also here with CJMEA, where I'm the division percussion chair, and believe it or not, also the president-elect. So I'll be president in a couple of years. Can't wait.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's talk about community, Yael. So in your experience as a music teacher, what has community meant to you, your students, your greater community around?
Well, community is it's what we do. It's what we do as music educators and as musicians, because think about it. We're building this community from the first day students start in our music programs, and it's a lot of times in fourth grade, where the first day kids have their band lesson all the way through their whole education. They're with the same people and meeting new people along the way. So they're constantly meeting friends, constantly developing relationships, and music is connecting everyone. And that's really what we do. We make community and we foster community. A lot of my closest friends right now are, people I was in band with in high school, and all these years later to be here at NJMEA, run into people outside, run into people in the hallway, went to high school with, and we were in band together. So really, that's what community is.
So you have a percussion group playing at
2:30.
And so 2:30, and percussion is your specialty?
Yes.
So what do you have any thoughts about teaching percussion to beginners that maybe we could really quickly, if you had a 2-minute?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, if people are listening and they're here tomorrow morning at 10:30, I'm presenting a workshop on this exact topic. Believe it or not, tomorrow morning. But the biggest thing that I could say about teaching beginning percussion is we're in 2020 now, and the days of I am a snare drummer are history, and that it doesn't work in today's day and age, where the percussionist needs to be the all-around musician, the same way that the clarinetist or the trumpet player, they need that same education. They need that same melodic education. And the only way to do that is to be starting students as total percussionists from really day one in fourth grade, basically. And that's what it's all about, and where the future is heading. It's the days of I only play this, or I only play this, or I only play this. It just doesn't exist in today's day and age. And the best advice I can give to teachers is to go that total percussion route from the first day, because the beauty of that is that kids don't know any better, because from day one they're being trained as a percussionist. So the idea of I am a drummer is never with them, because from day one they are a percussionist there. And my other bit of advice to the beginning teachers are, look into quality instruments. The days of the bell kits have also gone by the wayside, and that served the purpose for a long time, but we've moved past that and moved forward, and students need a full-size keyboard instrument that fits the needs of them and their teacher. And there are a lot of good ways to do that, but it's something beginning teachers really need to look into to create successful total percussionists.
Day one, bells or snare drum?
Day one, both.
Yael, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Enjoy. Thank you.
Good luck today. Hi, I'm back at NJMEA talking about community, and I have Heidi Haderthauer here with me. She's a band director in northern New Jersey. Heidi, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Heidi, and I teach 6th through 12th grade band in New Milford, New Jersey. I've been there for 15 years.
Excellent. And so, Heidi, what does community mean to you as a band director?
So community is really important. I feel like it has 3 levels. It has the student level. Are they respected in their school? And the community of their peers. Then in our town that we live in, how important it is to outreach what we do, that we actually exist, because we do a lot of things in the community. And the third is the music teachers. We need to communicate to each other and have a sense of community to support each other.
So now, you mentioned you teach 6th through 12th grade. So you teach at 2 separate schools?
Yeah, it's 2 separate schools, which makes the community a little difficult. At my middle school, I'm there most of the day. So the kids come down during their lunch, and they are there after school. They're really involved. And it's kind of sad, because then when I get to the high school, I'm only there for an hour a day, and they don't have anywhere to kind of go. So I feel like I do lose a sense of community with my high school kids just because of what my schedule is.
So
it's unfortunate.
What do you do with those high school kids to kind of build that community then?
We have marching bands, so we have the added time there. But I try to add in some fun activities for them to, like, we're going ice skating next month, just something non-musical to like keep them together. We travel every year, whether it's a day trip or a bigger trip. We go to Disney every 4 years. So those are sort of things that like keep them together.
Yeah, those bonding experiences, and of course, more just beyond the shared experience of the concert. You know, this is something that I struggle in my program. Is I teach at a small school where I can't take trips, and so I look for opportunities all the time to build that community. It's good that you're thinking that way, because I think it's really important as a band director.
Yeah, it is important.
So, can you give me a specific example of what you're doing in the middle school to build community?
Well, the middle school kids, they love being there. They think band's their favorite class. But I have, the one thing that's been really funny is I got a mannequin head from Amazon, and to get them to change their reeds, they just stab the head with the reeds.
What's her name?
Rita. And so they come in during lunch. They want to see how many reeds are there and like where's the newest hairstyle. So you have to bring them in with bizarre things that we might not think, but they're good kids and they want to just be there and spend more time. I did add 2 rocking chairs to my room this year, so some of them will just come in and start talking about the class they just didn't do well on a test in or something like that, and that's very important too. We're also guidance counselors.
Right, of course, and psychologists, and you see things happen in kids' lives, and you're teaching more than that. As I like to say on the show a lot, is I'm not teaching clarinet to a student, I'm using the clarinet to teach a student.
Right.
And so it's more about the whole student than it is.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea. I actually do a reed graveyard, but I use that floral foam, and they touch it all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about going to a mannequin head for that reason, because I'm tired of them sticking their fingers in the foam.
Right, that is true. That's funny.
Well, thank you so much, Heidi,
You're
for
welcome.
coming.
Of course, anytime.
All right, I'm back here at NJMEA. The all-state bands and orchestras and choirs are at their break, so it's very loud in the exhibition hall right now. And with me is Scott Visco, who teaches on the coast of New Jersey. Scott, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Scott Visco. I'm the band director at Point Pleasant Borough High School in Ocean County, New Jersey.
Excellent. So, Scott, can you talk to me about community in your program and what that means for you, your kids, the general community at large?
Sure. Point Pleasant is, I guess, what would be considered a small community. It's not a very large town. It's not a very large school. We are slightly larger than our sister school, Point Pleasant Beach, which is an even smaller school. It's very, very small school. But we are, I guess, group 2 as far as, sizes. There's about 800 plus kids that go to our school, just for size reference. I am the only band director in the school. I have about a little over 100 students that are involved with our band programs. So it's, more than, whatever percentage that is.
Right, yeah, no.
It's a fairly large percentage of the school that's involved in our band program. So community for Point Pleasant, I would think is a very huge thing. We had an icon in Point Pleasant. His name was Lauren Donnelly, who instilled a love of music to pretty much everybody in Point Pleasant. He was there, before my time. We have a performing arts building and wing that is dedicated to his name, and unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But his memory still lives on, and he is probably the person that I would say that had established a love of music. Not only just choir, but band, our musicals that we put on, that, the whole community just really get behind. And it says something about the support that our community has to our band program and our whole performing arts department. Is we have a extremely nice band room. And we have, I would say, probably one of the best band rooms in round on the coast, and that wouldn't be there without the support of our community and the residents of Point Pleasant. And they supported our band program. Mr. Caliendo, who was the band director before me, had a host of championships that he won with his marching band. So he brought in a high standard of excellence as far as what marching band was all about. The band, performed in many parades. There was a thing called the Hey Rube Get a Two parade that was pretty, high profile in Point Pleasant. We don't do that parade so much anymore. And actually, we don't really perform too many parades in Point Pleasant anymore, but we still try to keep involved. We have a Memorial Day service that we play for. Our mayor asked us to perform, and obviously you can't say no to the mayor. There's certain people that you want to keep on your side. Our mayor is actually very supportive. He lets us use his building and facilities for our car washes. He's very generous in that. And we have a very public presence, and our community comes out to our concerts. Our musicals are what I would consider top-notch. All this is a long-winded way of saying that quality. You want to instill quality of music and quality of performances that people want to come listen to. When you think of your typical high school band or even typical middle school band, is that something that you really want to listen to? And our community is one that loves coming to our concerts. They're always, for pretty much full packed house. And it doesn't matter what grade level, they're always very supportive. One of the things that our school district does is they have, for our Board of Education meetings, they have a performing group come in every month
to perform before the Board of Education meetings. Now that does a couple of things. It brings people to the meetings, because they want to see their children perform. And it also allows people who would just normally come to the board meeting to come and appreciate, some of the homegrown talent, if you were, to perform publicly. And we are always the first one to do that with our competition marching band. One of the reasons is that, we've been rehearsing all summer, and so we're ready to go. And they come to see us, and it's always a packed house. We go to perform for the elementary school. Obviously, we don't do our whole show. We do a standstill. But our community is very involved, mainly because the community is our families. The other part of community that means to me in Point Pleasant is having siblings return. If their older siblings were in the band and they have a great experience, they tell their younger kids, make sure you take part in band. I had a great experience. I had a great time, and you will too. You'll instantly have a whole bunch of friends. They'll always be on your side, and there'll always be a place where you can find as your sanctuary, in the band room. And parents that have kids, join the band. I don't want to. No, join the band. Trust me. And they, 9 times out of 10, are going to, thank their parents for making me be part of the band. And, the community is the people. So, if the people are in your bands, they're going to come want to see you. And their family members are going to want to come to see you. So it just expands exponentially from there. And if everyone is having a good time, is, and involved in quality of music and quality of performance, then they're going to want to be a part of it. And that's kind of basically how I see it. I couldn't really just put it any simpler than that.
It's really cool. It sounds like a really sort of, I don't know if I want to say a throwback, but it's a very interesting way that you do it. I appreciate that you share that sort of.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so back at NJMEA, and I'm with Melissa Clark, who is an orchestra teacher in Lawrenceville,
Lawrence Township Public Schools.
Excellent. Can you tell everyone sort of what you do there?
So I teach 7th and 8th grade orchestra at LMS Nation is what we call ourselves. And I also teach 4th and 6th grade string players over at Lawrence Intermediate School.
Mm-hmm. So most of my listeners are band, but today we're talking about community, and this is something that all music teachers, band, choir, orchestra, we all deal with. And so what does community mean to you in your program?
So I've been in Lawrence for over 10 years, and I actually live in the community where I teach, and my children go to the schools there too. I have a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I've actually had both of my kids in my classes and their mom as their teacher. And to me, living in the community is so important because I feel so much more connected to my students and their parents because we have similar experiences, especially with the ages that I teach. These are the ages of my own children. So I love living and working in a district that I support, and our community is just so wonderful and supportive of music education and the total child.
Mm-hmm. And so how many kids do you have in your program?
I teach a little over 50 for the middle school, so that's 7th and 8th grade, and then I have a handful of students that I share with another music teacher over at the intermediate and between the 3 grades there, we have probably a little over 75, 80 kids in the string program there.
Wow, that's pretty good. I mean, compared to band, which is in every town in the United States, string programs are a little harder to find in a lot of places, so it's always encouraging to see that, more string education, the idea of the more music education we can have, the better. Put that community thing again.
Yes.
So do you have any thoughts about what you would tell a young music teacher about community if they were starting out or listening to the show and looking for advice of some kind?
I think the best way is to really just spend a lot of time getting to know people and making those connections. I've been, again, very fortunate I have children that I've had for many years. My current 8th graders, shout out to you if you're listening to this. I started in 4th grade, so I've been working with them for 4 years. So by now, and as 8th graders, I'm just literally so sad to see them leave because we've built this relationship. And, I just make those connections because if you could connect with the kids in the classroom, everything's going to be so much better. The music will be better. They will play. They will respect you. All of that will work in, but build those relationships from day one.
Right. Thank you, Melissa, so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you.
And so that's it. That was the final interview. So let me know. Give me some feedback on whether you liked this format, if it's something you'd like to see me do again. Kaleidoscope Adventures is going to fly me out to the Poconos in April for the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association Conference, and I have a couple ideas for an episode from there. And so if this is a format that you liked, if this is something you'd like to see repeated, or if you have some ideas for what topic you'd like me to ask music educators, please let me know. Just send me an email or drop me a comment on one of the social media channels. Next week, I'll resume my normal interview format. And until then, best wishes to all of you.